In preparation for draining my fuel tank on the 300D and inspecting that screen in the bottom of the tank, I went ahead and removed the sending unit. Some of you might be thinking, well, why did you do that? Well, for one reason, I did not know how much fuel is in the tank because this isn't working. So I wanted to see, and sure enough, I've got about half a tank. You can see when I dip these swabs in to also check the condition of the bottom of the tank, you know, I could tell that I have about a half a tank of fuel. The fuel's fairly clean down in there. But now the fun begins. I know I've got a half a tank. I've got to have at least 10 gallons of containers ready. I don't like it when there's this much fuel in the tank, but I've got the car up and we're ready to get into the car and drain the fuel. And when I'm all done, I'm going to have to open this up and repair it. And now for one of the more messy jobs you'll have to do on these old diesels, and that's drain the fuel out of the tank so I can clean and replace that fuel tank filter screen. I'm not going to be able to film under there very easily, so I want to explain what I'm using. I've got a big drip pan. I've got a can with a funnel that's going to get real close to the tank. You don't want the catch can too far below or you're going to be spraying fuel around. Notice here, number one, this is the most important thing, tie a rag around your wrist. How do I know that? If some of you have done this, you'll know what I'm talking about. This will prevent any drips of diesel fuel from running down your arm and going all the way down here. That's very, very bad. I also have a clamping tool. I will be clamping off the fuel hose, which will help control the rate of drainage. And then I'm going to go under there with a screwdriver to get that clamp loose, and then I've got my favorite clamping tool to get a hold of that hose and loosen it up and get it off that metal line. That can be one of the more frustrating aspects of this job. And finally, I've got my trusty headlamp. You really need some good light under there while you're working. So the first thing I'm going to do is go under there and make sure this funnel's not too high. If this is too high in relationship to the outlet of the tank, I'm going to have to rig up some other type because I want it close, but not so close I can't take that rubber hose off and stick it right in this funnel. And that hose should stay there so I can get out from under the car without worrying whether that hose is going to flip out. And finally, there's one more thing you need to do. Don't forget this. I'm going to open up the fuel cap door and I'm going to remove the fuel cap. That's going to allow the tank to drain easily. Don't forget to do this or it's going to take a long time for that fuel to drain out. It's nice to be under a rust-free car. Ever tried to mess around with rusty hose clamps? Oh, gee. All right, now I'm going to take my clamp and clamp the hose off. Right there. I'm going to take that clamp, I'm going to clamp the hose off close to the tank outlet. So when I pull the hose off the hard line, I'm not going to have it splashing all over the place. Now, if you do this right, you're not going to get any fuel down your armpit. Okay. Now, I mentioned how hard it is to get the hose off because it's almost like welded on there from years of use. Now, this funnel is right up close to that tank outlet. So I'm going to be able to pull the hose and immediately put it in the top of this blue funnel. So I'm going to take my special clamping tool and I can get a hold of that hose and twist it and pull it off. Okay, I got a little bit draining out of the hard line, but so far everything has gone into the blue funnel. All right, the hose is lined up with the blue funnel. I'll try to get a shot of this with my cell phone when I release this clamp. You can see right now, see the hose is not draining. It's not even dripping, okay? So I'm going to pull that funnel up right there. Now I'm going to release the clamp, and there goes the fuel. Just like that. Haha, I didn't need the rag on my arm. You can see it's draining away. Now I have more than 5 gallons in the tank, so I'm going to have to keep an eye on this, and when this tank gets full, I'll come back up and clamp that hose off again and then change tanks. So anytime you do this job, you need that clamping tool to be able to control the flow rate, or you're going to have diesel all over the place. You have to stay on top of this. That can is already 2/3 full, and it's been less than 5 minutes. So I've got my clamping tool ready. You can see how that works on this hose. Just comes in and clamps that off, and it acts like a vice grip, so it's really easy to manipulate this. I have a new hose ready in case I need it. Here's the new tank screen. I've got the next 5-gallon can ready to go, and in just a couple minutes I'll have to get back under there and swap out these fuel cans. Okay, I've got that one positioned so the hose cannot come out of that funnel. I've got everything positioned. I'm going to release the clamp. There it goes. I think you can see from this how important it is to get the prep right. You've got to get the right size containers, the right size funnel, and you definitely need a clamping tool for that outlet hose. The only disadvantage of this container is I can't see when it's getting full. So I'm not going to get too greedy on this one. You know, I can kind of feel it, feel how heavy it's getting, but I'm going to go get another can ready right now. You can see on this third container, it's slowing down and it's almost stopped. I was pretty close in my estimate of 10 gallons. I pulled this one a little over 3 gallons. That one looks like it has 2 gallons. The other was full, so I had to drain 10 gallons out of this thing. Now, I recommend if you know you're going to do this and you have the time to drive the car until it only has a couple gallons left, but I didn't have a choice. I needed to get to that tank screen on this car. So